All right, it's time to get busy. Sunday morning. I don't know what time it is, but it's Sunday morning. All right, folks. Whoever's going to come in and take heed to these words of Dia on this particular subject. I got two names for this particular subject. I don't know which one I'm going to use, but both of them are appropriate, I guess. But this might be a little longer than my usually 40 minutes because I'm thinking about reading some verses today because folks took stuff and twisted it to justify their doctrine and their religion or whatever it may be. And they don't read the chapters, obviously, because the chapters are not saying what the one verse they quote to try to take away from the original Hebrew Israelites or biblical scripture Israelites or the descendants of the true Israelites of today. This subject is a taboo and the elephant in the room. Obviously, I said this on some of the other YouTubes. This is a problem because folks don't want to hear anything that contradicts their history, or they don't want to hear anything that contradicts their Christianity or anything of that sort. All right. So now I say all of that, and I'm saying this. First of all, I'm speaking for myself and me through my studies over the years, like anybody else. I'm going to name some people later after this YouTube, not just them, but a whole bunch of folks who did the historical facts, knowledge, studies, not hypothetically and all this other stuff that people try to make out. Now, I say this because I say that me, Dia, I don't represent, I got to say this, man, I don't represent Christianity, and I don't represent what y'all Christians call black Hebrew Israelites. First of all, there's no such thing in scripture as black Hebrew Israelites. We know the folks was of color, so y'all who the one to deny it. Dark skin color, brown, dark brown, black, dark black, whatever. All right? Dark colored folks. Now, I represent trying to be the best I can in my life as a follower of Yahushua HaMashiach. And that is that. 1 Corinthians 3:23. So anybody who says a comment in the comment section about not being a Christian or not being a part of a camp or following this and following that, good luck. So you're talking to the wrong person. Good luck. Just like I can't talk you out of being a Christian and can't talk you out of being a Torahite, then God doggone it, you sure enough ain't gonna talk me into it. First of all, Christianity, I've been used to, I've done that, been there, done that. Please, it's about as, I don't know what to say at this point. There's just so many things to say. It's unfortunate, sad, but hey, it's not too many people out there like myself. There's plenty of people out there, but all of you going to be in a minority, which you got, you're stuck between two opinions here with these people, with all this stuff going down in 2024. You got Christians on one end, you got the BHIs, they label them the other end, then you got these other folks, then you got this one and that one. It's this, everything is just all messed up. But Yahushua HaMashiach never created, as I always say, none of this stuff. Never, ever. No religion called Christianity. The other guy, JC, did, not Yahushua HaMashiach, okay? So, I don't want to go down that route, but because this is not about that. This is about another trigger of me watching these YouTubes with the Hebrew Israelite cats debating this one particular guy. It seems like he's the only guy that gets up there, and his name is Vocab Malone. He's Mr. Wannabe Dragon Slayer. He's not the Dragon Slayer of Hebrew Israelites. This guy here is, he called his ministry Urban Ministry. Urban. Why he don't have a European ministry? Why he don't go into Europe, and why he don't go into these other places and teach against their genealogies and etc. Now, he brings up the gospel, which is a good thing. I understand that. I got it because I agree with that. But he's in the urban ministry to take down the Yehudim, quote unquote, that their genealogy and their teachings on history about the Israelites, not their doctrines and tenets. That's another thing he gets in. I'm not into that. But the history and the other facts throughout history, this particular guy, and there's many other people, not too many Christians, because we're going to talk about the verses the Christians use, that I used to use in the street talking to Hebrew Israelites 30 years ago. Me and my friend, I don't want to mention his name. We used to duck these verses as well. We used to use these verses as well back in the days because we couldn't answer. We couldn't answer. Now, there's some truths to certain things. When we go about talking about genealogies, then there's some untruths about history and the Renaissance period, the racism time, and etc. Now, I'm going to say some words today. Might be a little offensive to some folks because it's going to sound being a little using race. Unfortunate, folks, this is what comes out when we are talking in discussion about genealogies of the first century, or not genealogy of the first century, people today, 2024. We can't discuss nothing without somebody bringing up race or bringing up nationality. Now, the reason why this is being done, these verses that are being used that I'm going to quote, there's probably more, but these are the favorite four, I believe. Probably more, but these are the favorite four horsemen. Is because, folks, is that the understanding, the knowledge, the history, and the facts are there. It's not coming out. They're already there. So the opposition has to come up and try to cut this off. And how do? They cut this off by quoting certain verses in a chapter that it seems to be sitting or fitting to what the Renaissance period and whatever period, that changed everything. Change, switch it from white to black that quick. Now, then they changed the history as well. That's right. It's not just the modern day time, changed the history back then. Now, when I say that, somebody say, well, what is this? Well, it is what it is, folks. Let's not sit up and play naive. Race plays a big part of sometimes, unfortunately, not the Yahusha's love, because they don't have no race in the sense that he loves this one more than that one. And no. You can't get me with that. That's not going to work. He only died for some people, not everybody. Can't get me with that neither. So all of the gimmicks and games that Mr. Vocab Malone and all these other Negropeans, oops, that's the word I'm going to bring out today, that is unfortunate because folks don't study, obviously. Somebody's not reading. Now, I read these chapters so many times in the last couple of days, I'm tired of reading. And I read them out of 4 different translations. Just use 4. I got more. I'm going to use a different translation today that I didn't use the other day. The other day I used I don't know which one I used. The KJV, the Zodiacs, comparing it with the Hallelujah Scriptures last time I did a YouTube. This time, I'm going to use this particular translation, right? I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this one this time. I don't know why I'm using it. Maybe because you got Yahushua HaMashiach in there this time and I feel like using it. Blah, blah, blah. So what? Using it. Yeah. The name of this time. Oh, and I also said, I don't know if I said it, that my thoughts and my brain, my thinking and my studies, I ain't saying I'm 1,000%, 100%, 1,000% correct. I'm confident in what I believe, just like you're confident in what you believe, whoever that may be. I always say the same things. I'm bold in what I'm going to say because you're bold in what you're going to say or have said. Now, that goes to whoever. Yeah, the problem is when you're a Christian, you think you have the right to dictate what is so and what ain't and what is. It's a little bit of arrogance there. You get me? Now, the BHIs, or I hate to say that like that, but they can get very arrogant and very emotional over Torah and tenets of Torah when they're explaining stuff and beating people down in that matter as well. I told you I ain't on nobody's allegiance. I ain't on nobody's team. I told y'all that. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to have to say it to all my YouTubes. That don't mean the scriptures are truth or not truth. And that don't means you're going to be condemned because you, that's your garbage. Ain't nobody going to be condemned for not joining up in allegiance to no religion or no camp, or outside of a camp, inside of a camp. Man, I got to say this all the time because this is how pitiful this thing is at this point. For me, it is. For many others, it's not at all. It's fine. It's just great. We're going along. We're going to keep doing the Ferris wheel, and we just keep doing it. That's it. Now, Christianity topic doesn't dictate who all the Israelites are and not. Christianity doesn't dictate who all the Israelites are and not. That's one topic thought. Second topic thought, they'll say anything to get rid of the Israelites' identity. That one sounds more like it. I don't know which one I'm going to use when I fill out the title. They'll say anything to get rid of the Israelites' identity. They'll say anything. There's a guy that does a YouTube, it's called We Woke Now. I don't know the man's name, but I sure enough wanted to put his name down on a piece of paper, on the list here. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. He played the YouTube and the people are making fun. He used a quote, a clip from something. It just doesn't matter. Sure enough, it matters. It matters for me. It matters for me. I'm gonna use the bywords that, that we've been told that we are, and I don't know who the people tell us that we are. That wasn't Abraham, Yishak, and Jacob telling me that. It wasn't in scripture, these words, but this is the words that we are told through slavery that we are. Oops. But I don't want to talk about that. That's over with. But those are the words where we got that from, calling us these words. But now, I don't think in 1724, because we're in 2024, correct? I don't believe in 1724, they didn't think in their eschatology, they probably didn't think we was going to make it to 2024. Ooh, don't touch that. In 1724, I don't think they thought we was going to make it to 2024. Because that was the generation back then. I have to throw that in there. So now we see in 2024, bam, stuff is being brought up. Folks don't even want to discuss it because they're Christians. They get so much in their high horse, I don't have to discuss that. I'm a Christian. And then using these verses out of context have no bearing whatsoever, the four they use to try to justify their little tenet inside their little religion. Because now the Negropeans are actually people that I got from one of my Kindle books, a Hebrew Israelite, one of the books. He called them Negropeans. That ain't my making. That ain't my word up. That's not I'm gonna use it, but I'm gonna give him credit. But I can't remember his name. Negropeans are people that are hue, complexion, dark brown. They Negropeans because they dark brown complexion, but they got a European mindset, and it comes to the faith and the truth. That's it. All of their nationality and their own stuff is thrown out the window with the Negropeans. I don't want to talk about that. I'm black, I'm brown, whatever. It doesn't matter to me because that's what the Negropeans say. That's what they do. People are sleeping here, and I'm about to wake somebody up, getting pumped up. That's what they do. It's not about that. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's not about this. It's about this. It's about that. Hypocrite behind himself, because this Mr. Vocab Malone, he always talk about, he just quoted this in the YouTube the other day, Vocab Malone versus Zion Let. Y'all need to go on Vocab Malone's website or YouTube, and watch that YouTube, because the young man took him to task. You know what I'm saying? Took him to task. And y'all who love Vocab Malone thinking he gonna, like the dude said, he go around chasing the Hebrew Israelites around the streets, chasing them. But what he does is he come after the gospel because he know the Hebrew Israelite guys don't preach the gospel, which is true, which is a fact. I've been knowing this for years. Please, I've done my own YouTubes on that. But the problem is he tries to mix that in with the facts and truths about history. And then what he does, he traps the people that's listening. You Christians, you listen, you not paying attention. You so busy caught up to Christianity, you hearing him say this and this and that to backtrack because he don't want to touch the history part. And when he does, he'll say, well, you don't have to be a racist because you believe that. I can't say that. You don't have to be a racist because you believe they were white, Europeans, or whatever. But the facts of history proves this so simple. It's unbelievable in 2024 for a white person, white Christian, Chinese Christian, Spanish Christian, whoever wants to sit up here and hold on to this. It's too easy. So that means that you're denying it for something else outside of Christianity, you being a Christian. There's something else that's holding you back. The Negropeans, we know why, because they got European mindsets. But all the other races and nationalities, there's something that's in you that don't want these people to be of Israelites, Africans, as well as descendants today through slavery and other slavery in history. You don't want them to be dark folks. There's something into this outside of just, I'm a Christian. There's something else there. But they'll deny it. Ooh, they'll deny it. No way they're going to say that I feel like this because I didn't want them to be of hue, dark or black or brown. Or if they would deny to the max. The Negropeans can't deny because they dark folks. They brown dark folks. They can't deny that. Their own skin complexion. But they're denied because of the mindset that they're in. The mindset they're in. They got to get away. They can't. Christianity doesn't allow them. Christianity doesn't allow them to break this down. Now, this is going to be a little longer YouTube today. Seems to be. I hope my battery stays long. All right. Here's my notes. I got to read notes. I like talking just off my head, but you got to read this stuff I wrote down because I had no choice. Now, when I say things about names, complexions, and nationalities, you have to have a little bit more stomach because, please, it's just the facts and the truth. It has nothing to do about me being a bigot, or racist, or prejudice. Oh, yeah, that's the other one. Can't be racist, I always tell you, because I don't own nothing, ain't got no power. That's number one. I'm not a bigot or prejudice because of truth, and I'm supposed to be an African American speaking up about something. Now I'm racist. No, that's not gonna work. Just take that psychologically straw man thing. And I don't have no complex against nobody. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what complexion skin you got. I don't care what kind of hair texture you got. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care what you are. I don't have nothing against you. I don't care if you're Irish, French, Italian, Hispanic, Dominican, Mexican, Chinese, whatever, man. I ain't got nothing against you because I can't be that and have Mashiach in the heart and then sit up here having some hatred towards you because of your nationality. But it seems to be that it's the opposite of those who I just named when it comes to these Israelites in the scriptures as well as today, calling ourselves Israelites, that it seems to be the opposite with you folks. White Christians, so I'm using the name not because I'm prejudiced or hate white people or some silly stupidness like that. My gosh, this is sad. But hey, you got to share it, man. That was the best way I could think about trying to, I hope I tag this right and put this up in the right sections. I hope I tag it right. White Christians and Negropeans. I explained to y'all what Negropeans are. I'll say it again. Negropeans are people that, are black and hue and brown/brown, but their mindset is European. They got the brown. That's why all of the ones who follow this Mr. Vocab Malone, these Negropeans, follow him like he's some warrior taking out all the Hebrew Israelites. Now, when I say Hebrew Israelites, folks, that's not because I'm a part of that. I'm saying it because of scriptural truths as well as facts throughout history when I'm saying Hebrew Israelites. So you folks get confused. Anybody say Hebrew Israelites, all of a sudden you throw them on the street in the corner, and that's your game. That's the way to get it. That's the way to get it over with. Because you get a derogatory aspect of that particular face thing when you see it on YouTube when you're watching it. Or Michael Brown brings him out and brings him on there. Black Hebrews, like he brings Mr. Michael Brown. Another one. There's another one. Michael Brown. Vocab alone. There's only 2 or 3 of them that just man, this stuff is boring. What can you do, man? You can talk to them. You can say anything to them. I asked a friend of mine yesterday, talking to him before I keep going. I said to him, if you know basic Hebrew, and I don't know any basic. I don't know Hebrew. I don't speak no Palo. I don't speak no modern Yiddish, block Hebrew. I don't speak none of that. I speak English. Goodness, I speak English. All my YouTubes are English. You don't hear me quote up here, oh, Hebrew it is, and the side text in the Hebrew. But if you're simple Hebrew, will let you know that the word Yeshua, I don't want to go off topic here, means salvation. Is equivalent to the English word salvation. Basic read and study. How can a person's name is salvation? Not mean salvation, is salvation. Anybody y'all know in your neighborhood? Anywhere y'all know anybody who say, yo, salvation, come here, man. Yo, what's your name, sir? Salvation. Anybody know anybody like that? No. All right, end the discussion on that. White Christian and Negro Europeans will say anything to get rid of the true identity of the ancient Israelites. Anything out their mouth. As well as us, as today's descendants, us who know the truth, knowledgeable facts, as well as not his story. We know the truth. They never put this same pressure on the, I hate to say these words because folk get, on the Jews about their identity. They only know why. They never put the same pressure, Mr. Vocab Malone or you Negropeans, never. Christianity, Christians never say anything about Jews and their genealogy because you've been taught that these are the people of the book. You've been slayed, hammered, and beat down, so that's why you never question it. And you won't question it today. You're going to try to jump to these 4 verses we're going to talk about to try to negate and get away from it. And these verses ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about from the Renaissance period to the racism and lies that's been whatever in the TVs and the movies and everything else. This ain't got nothing to do with scripture. It got to do with this stuff today when I'm talking, for sure. When you want to deal with them Hebrew Israelites and their tenets and their doctrines and what they believe, you deal with them on that. Now, set apart. Let's set the record straight. Spiritual identity is in Mashiach HaMashiach, Yahushua HaMashiach. Spiritual identity for 1,000% guarantee is in Yahushua HaMashiach. Spiritual identity. But this is not Christendom. I don't want to blow up, man. Christendom thinks that they take that spiritual identity and they say Christ. We don't use Christ on this station here. In Mashiach. That they think that's Christendom trying to break down to these so-called BHIs on spiritual identity. That's being a Christian. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Oh my God, I told you I did a YouTuber hijack. Christians hijack this stuff. And now they can't backtrack because now it's like, we can't. It's too far gone. We can't. There's no way. We'll stick by it no matter if it's an error or it's wrong. No matter if we find out. Don't matter. We're going to stick by it. We can't. Spiritual identity is definitely in Yahushua HaMashiach. You get that vocab alone? It's definitely in spiritual. Next one up. Number 1, number 2. Physical identity. Of us who know better who knows better that we are the Israelites. That's the physical identity. See, the Christian try to use the spiritual identity to wipe away the physical identity. Which they try to erase with color. See, they don't mind talking about identity, but as long as you're not saying you're an Israelite. I don't mind talking about identity. As long as you say you're not an Israelite. As long as you don't come to no conclusion you're an Israelite. Or you're the descendant of a dude and Jacob and Joseph and all these folks in the Bible and all these movies and TVs you've been implanting in your head, all European white folks and all that. You know, you just can't say that now. You just can't go that far. They try to erase it with colored. African American, black. I think there's some couple of more. I couldn't even write anymore, etc. You get the point. I'll leave the others out, the derogatory ones. The derogatory ones. Ooh, we know that main one. I don't even like my wife telling me get to stop using that word. That main one. As long as you one of those, we good. You talking about you an Israelite? We got a problem. Now we're gonna do some censoring. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Hey, we can't have this. Questions for the white Christians and the Negropeans. I told somebody I might laugh saying some of this stuff because it was funny when I first seen the word Negropeans. I was like, dang. But it's true. I asked my friend the other day on the phone. I don't want to mention his name. I asked him a question about We're going to talk about the verse now, but I asked him a question. And I asked him in the upper room and asked, who was in the upper room, number one? Was that physical people or spiritual people? And he said to me, yo, come on, man. You serious? Serious? You talking about? You serious? And I told him I was setting him up. But he was answering. I told him I was setting him up. And he was like, yeah, what do you mean? Are they teaching that those spiritual people? I don't know if he meant spiritual understanding or like transparent spiritual, like they wasn't physical people. I don't know if he was answering like that. I didn't get that far with him. But he was tripping a little bit, saying that was physical. That was physical. So I laughed, thinking about what me about to do the YouTube, even though I told him I'm going to do the YouTube. One of the favorite verses we use for spiritual application, when a person becomes a new creature in Mashiach, a new creature in Mashiach. 2 Corinthians, I believe it is 5:17. A new creature, not an animal, a new creature in Mashiach. Do you change your biological makeup if you Mexican or Irish or Russian or Japanese or African or colored American? Do you change your Spanish? Do you change your physical makeup when you become a new creature in Mashiach? Oh my gosh. No is the answer. You still who you are in your nationality. A spiritual application to a physical people. I'm saying that because you're going to get where I'm coming at. What these people do is say anything to get rid of the Hebrew Israelites from the physicality as we talking about today. In the first century, they already knew they were Israelites. They didn't have to walk around talking about, well, I'm a black Hebrew Israelite. They didn't walk around talking about, we from Egypt, and Egypt is in Northeast Africa, and there's no such thing as no Middle East. Where y'all get that from? Because in the first century, they didn't have no such thing as no Middle East. Egyptians was dark folks. Ethiopians was dark folk. Canaanites was dark folk. Nubians, Girgazites, Amorites, Philistines was dark folk. Babylonians was dark folks. Brown/dark. Technicality. All them folks was dark under Ham, a.k.a. Cam. Japhets, well, let me stop. I posted that did the foundation, never got there. Ah, shucks, Father, help me. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Well, 2 Corinthians 5:17. Do you become a new physical new creature? Because it says you're a new creature in Mashiach. Are you a new creature physically? A new heaven and earth. Let me stop, D. Let me stop. Okay. We read out the question. Here's the questions. Physical identity. Those who know better. We are Israelites. Not black, not brown, not Afro-American, not Coon, Boone, and all this other ridiculous stuff, which they try to erase and use with color. African, we're slaves here from America. We had about 12 names given to us so-called black folks. Black. And looking on the screen right now, I don't be looking black, do I? I'm kind of like that light-skinned type of dudes, they say. Yellow bone, all that. I don't look like no black. But boy, they're labeled as black, etc. But I'm still in that African Israelite descendants category for sure. You get the point. I'll leave the others out. Questions for the Christians, white Christians, Hispanic Christians, Chinese Christians, French Christians, and any other Christians out there who's not just white. Let me get that in there. I had to remind myself when I wrote this to say that. Because white people think, oh, you coming at the white folks. No, I'm coming about anybody who's a Christian who's not in the complexion, hue, black or brown. Anybody. I don't care if you're Spanish. I don't care if you're dark like me. You might be Negropanes. Or light like me or whatever. Or darker than me. Or you may not be white as white people or white as Chinese people. But you driven the Indians. The people living in India. French, Italian, Christians, and Negropanes. Let's go to Matthew 1:1. Here's the question. I'm going to read them out. The genealogy of Yahushua, was this spiritual or physical? About the Israelites down to Yahushua. Matthew 1:1. Was this a physical breakdown of people that were physically Israelites, all the way down from Adam or Seth, all the way down, whatever it is, excuse me, all the way down to the first, to Yahusha? Was that spiritual or physical? What is it? What is it? Keep those thoughts in your head, because when you get to your spiritual part, to change the Israelites and the people who we are today, and trying to use these other 4 verses going to come up. Remember these. Remember these questions. Acts chapter 2, verses 2 to 4. These Israelites in one place. You read everybody knows the day of Pentecost. Everybody knows. These Israelites was in the upper room. My goodness. Or the one place. Depends on which translation I'm using. They say them different. Where these Israelites there, spiritual or physical people, in the one place in the upper room waiting for the Ruach, which is the spirit, to come on spiritual people or physical people. They're going to say, this is some silly questions here. I know. It's just, hey, this is what we hear when we get to the reality of things. This is what we hear. Well, we know they were physical, but hey, y'all, who knows what somebody's thinking. Anna of the tribe of Asher. Lucas chapter 2, verse 36. Was this literal, physical tribe of Asher or spiritual? Because when it gets to us breaking it down and teaching today, they go straight to spiritual. Everything is spiritual. But with these first 3 verses, Romans 11:1. This is a famous one we like to all talk about. I also am an Israelite in the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Romans 11:1. Shaul said this to the spirit. Shaul said this. Is this spiritual or physical? The tribe of Benjamin. Well, that's a spiritual tribe, because it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Y'all don't say that when y'all read none of those other 4 verses so far. None of them. None of them. Never say it's spiritual. Our sovereign Yahusha rose from the tribe of Yehuda. Is this spiritual or physical tribe? Hebrews 7:14. Our sovereign Yahusha rose from the tribe of Yehuda. Is this spiritual or physical tribe? My goodness. Revelation 7:4. Hazon 7:4. All the tribes of the children of Yashrael. It gives you all the names of these tribes, the 12 tribes. Was this spiritual or physical tribes that it was relaying to who he's talking about? Please don't jump that to spiritual Christians today. In Revelation 7:4, it gives you the 12 tribes. Please don't try to take that too. Goodness, you took enough and robbed and stole. I'm talking about them are spiritual 12 tribes of Christians. This is unreal stuff. Here's the word illogical. Illogical thinking. Illogical thinking. Hope I pronounced the word right. Grammar ain't that, Pray for me, y'all. Illogical. Lacking sense. That's what you got, my man. That's what y'all gonna say to me. Lacking sense or clear, sound reasoning. If you take those verses that I just used and change them to spiritual, you are lacking sense or clear, sound reasoning. Illogical thinking. If you take them verses I just read, those are all spiritual. That's not sound. We know that we're physical. This only comes up, the illogical thinking only comes up when the colored Israelites, I use the word colored there. I don't use the black. Color, because y'all like calling us colored folks. Us colored Israelites laid out about historical Israelites, aka spiritual Israelites, because that's a debate was the other day, but they always trying to wiggle out of the spiritual and the history Israelites and try to change it into the gospel. The gospel, like the guy Zion Lett told him. When you want to discuss something, you discuss that topic. Don't try to reel off. You want to discuss eschatology with me. You want to discuss sortology with me. You want to discuss nameology with me. You want to discuss the gospel with me. You want to discuss history with me. You discuss one at a time. And I'm prepared. Not unprepared, prepared. Us colored Israelites laid out about the historical Israelites, aka spiritual Israelites, and us, his descendants of Abraham, Yishak, and Jacob. Then the gimmicks and the tricks come. They come out. The gimmicks and the tricks of these 4 verses. And it's probably more, but I'm zeroing on this. 35 minutes. This is what we use. This is what they use to try to make it spiritual with the verses. With these verses. They use illogical thinking when they're quoting these verses, just the verse. Well, obviously, if you read these chapters, please, y'all that watch this YouTube, take some time off on Facebook, Twitter, X, Pal Talk, or whatever you on, man. Please, a Clubhouse, Club No House, whatever. Please take forth, especially you Christians. Especially you Christians, please. Please do yourself a favor and don't be up there ignorance or something. Please do yourself a favor and read these chapters. Oh, you don't tell us to read something. You ain't no Christian. How you know we ain't never read it? Read it again. Like I had to read it again. Read it again. Study it. Read it. Go slow, too. Make sure you don't jump into your presupposition, pre-thing to make it fit. So when you get the verse that you want to quote, to negate and avoid. Acts 17:26. I was going to read it all, but I'm not going to read because the time is a lot long on YouTube. I was going to read Acts, the whole entire chapter. But now that I gave the onus on y'all to do your own homework, which is in Acts chapter 17, verse 11, which is one of my favorite verses. Those that Thessalonica was more, what? Acts 17:11 is in the one that the verse they use in Acts 17:26. So do your homework. Do your homework. Read a couple of chapters. I'm covering me no one verse. I do quote verses too. Can't be a hypocrite here. All of us quote verses. You can't quote a chapter. You can't quote a chapter. I got that. But good gracious, that quote from that verse has to be in context with the chapter as well as historically. Principles apply to future. Principles of things apply for everlasting and everlasting. Historical is historical. Y'all quote 9/11 today. This ain't 9/11, is it? This is a historical thing. The date 9/11. My gosh, man. But you know what? You do anything. You say anything, do anything. The Christian do anything, say anything to get rid of the facts because of Christianity. Oh boy, this guy always getting on Christians. Christians always getting on everybody else as well because they think of me being a Christian. I told somebody today, y'all quote Christian more than you being a believer. Oops. Y'all quote being a Christian more than you'll be a believer. That's what makes my head want to blow up. Because we know this little Christian word. I'm going for these. Stop. How can you be a believer and not be a Christian? Simple. Me. What must we do to repent? Be baptized. Repent. Not be a Christian. Y'all done hijacked stuff, changed it. There's only 2 people in the first century. Just like was nations in the Old Testament. I'm going to get back to Galatians 3:28. I didn't even get to Acts 17:26. There was Israelites in the Old Testament and other nations. Other nations around the Israelites were other nations and Israelites. When you get to the New Testament, it didn't change. You got Israelites and you got other nations. Greeks, Romans, Scythians, or whoever was there in the first century, just like in the Old Testament. You don't have in the middle, you don't have Greeks, you don't have Israelites, Christians, and Greeks. Y'all tricky. You don't have Israelites, Christians, and Greeks in the first century. The Israelites were never called Christians. So y'all eliminated the Israelites by calling them Christians, and then you make everybody else other nations. Acts 17:26. And one blood of all nations. When folks, I feel like reading it, but I'll be here for 2 hours on this YouTube. One blood of all nations, he was explaining to the people in the whole entire chapter of 17 that not that the one blood was one blood Yes, it was one blood. What am I saying? It was one blood, but the other nations were not Israelites. And all the nations, including the Israelites, were different nations, still different people. When y'all quote Acts 17:26, illogical, trying to evade and negate the truth and facts of history because of Christianity, quote this verse, this is not in context to Acts 17, chapter 26. And not only that, it's definitely not in context to the subject today. The subject today, Renaissance period, racism, and everything else that went down through Christianity, whatever. This has nothing to do when y'all quote that, because I used to quote it in the street talking to the Black Hebrew Israelites when I was a Christian in the early 1990s. Because that was our defense mechanism to make sure we don't get into it. We avoid it by saying these same verses I'm quoting now. But these verses have nothing to do with the history and the facts. And our identity being stolen, our identity being robbed, and we calling coon black and this and that. And back in the days, I didn't care about that as long as I was saved. I believe in Jesus. I was saved. I'm going to church, pay my tithes. I didn't care about none of that. My pastor. There's neither, Galatians 3:20. Here's another famous one. Oh, D, this is going to be a long one, D. A long one today, because I ain't even finished. Galatians 3:20. I'm glad these people still sleep in this house. There's neither Yehudim, because I don't use the word Jew, nor Greeks, or Italians, or Romans, or French, or Mexicans, whoever was living back then. Nah, I'm only kidding, folks. There's neither, they were living back then too. They just wasn't called what they're called today. There is neither, that's what y'all like to quote, Galatians 3:20. There's no neither Yehudim or Greek. We are all one. There's no Jew or Gentile, because that's what y'all translations say. But the other verses I read to y'all about the Israelites in Acts, in the other verses I read to y'all, was those spiritual or was those physical? Matthew 1:1, Acts 2 verses 2-4, Lucas 2:36, Romans 11:1, Hebrews 7:14, Revelation 7:14. All talking about Hebrew Israelites. Was they spiritual then? We get that Galatians 3:20, you're talking about a spiritual. You erase them back. You don't erase them back then. You erase us today, because these are the verses you use to negate and trickery, illogical thinking, trying to quote that under Christianity. I'm going to say it 3 times. Trying to quote it under Christianity. Trying to quote it under Christianity. Trying to quote it under Christianity to negate and get away from the truth. Thinking you quoting a verse out of context. Galatians 3:28 is one of the favorites. Ain't no Jew. Y'all say that to the Jewish folks too. The Christians say that to the Jewish folks. I heard that 12, 13 years in the other platform. You say it to the Jew in a minute. You'll tell the Jew that in a minute, the Christian. But you won't get into the nationality of the Jew and the history of the Jew, because you believe they're the people of the book. But you'll tell them when they teach a Torah and they teach a Shabbat and they teach this and that to the Christians and the other prayer, y'all will tell them Jews in a minute. There's no Jew or Gentile. The Christians will do that. But you won't get into their genealogy though. Woo, hey, touching some nerves today, boy. And one in Mashiach. That's what they say. We all are one in Mashiach. There's no such thing today. I don't even know why we going over this. No such thing. All nations doesn't mean there was no nations no more. I asked you all about 2 Corinthians 5:17. When you became a new creature, when you became a new physical thing, did you change form? When you became a new creature, whenever you was so-called repented and born again, and etc., did you become a new physical human being? No, I'm a new creature in Mashiach. That means spiritually. It's like baptism. Gosh, man. But what can you do? Is this spiritual? Not that they are no more Yehudim. This is not saying they're no more Yehudim. In Greeks, physically, this is Galatians 3:20 is not taking their gene or genealogy away from them back then. But y'all use it today to take away our stuff because you don't want us to be in our education and knowledge and bringing up facts, this, that we couldn't do back in slavery time, so we couldn't do it. So now you still want to put us in that. That's the Christians and the Negropeans. 1 Timothy 1:4. Neither give heed. Oh boy, that's the one that was quoted the other day, Mr. Vocab Malone. I ain't giving heed I ain't giving heed to this stuff. Because that's the one I quoted back in the days. Me and my buddy out there in the street, doing street ministry, preaching out in the street, in the trains and everywhere. That's right, prisons everywhere. That's right. So y'all ain't talking to somebody who don't know the deal. That's right. Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies. That's one of the big ones. But y'all quoting that, which they was in the first century using genealogy to usurp themselves over the people, not through faith and in Mashiach. Back then. Y'all today trying to use these verses out of context, 1 Timothy 1:4, trying to use that today because we taking our stolen identity back and not calling ourselves by a byword. Christians trying to quote 1 Timothy 1:4, not gonna work. Not gonna work. Like it just doesn't matter. Not going to work. Not going to work. Nope. Can't quote Galatians. What's this thing? Well, you can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. It won't hurt. It won't hurt. Galatians. I gotta read this one. Timothy 1:4. Don't. It says neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies. Don't double tongue, Christians and Nicopeans. You try your best to dispose our identity through genealogies. So you say you don't want to discuss it, but vocab alone, I almost said something in my mouth. Verses 3 to 11 tells the point about 1 Timothy 1:4. Verses chapter 3 to 11. I asked you folks to read chapters. That using that verse, but you showing up using some genealogies to try to make sure that we are not this and this and that. But then you'll say, well, avoid it. Double tongue. Tricky. Verse 4 is not the point of today. Is about our stolen identity, putting it back to the African Israelites from the West Coast as well as from wherever else they were spread out. Not just the West Coast. But that's where we come from. They were taken to Brazil. They were taken to South America. They were taken to Jamaica. They were taken all over the doggone place. Luke 21:24. They were taken to all nations. Foolish questions and genealogies. Once again, Titus 3:9 is the same thing as Timothy 1:4. It's almost the same type of words from the brother Titus, brother Timothy. It's almost the same thing back then, because back then it was a lot going on that had to do with this particular subject that a lot of these Hebrew Israelite cats today do use in a sense of physical genealogy. But they also a lot of them are breaking it down from facts and truth and history about who we are, and you try to use the Christian, try to use the gospel thinking it's yours and trying to steal it and then put that verse out because you're busted and disgusted because you can't confront this stuff in Christianity. Most black and white, I'll say black and white and Hispanic, you can't question it. It's the other YouTube I just did. 3:9, foolish questions, genealogies. And again, this is not what is happening about the true Hebrew Israelites of today in ancient times until now. The true Hebrew Israelites of today and ancient times until now, saying avoid questions and genealogies. That ain't what you quoting that verse for. That verse ain't got nothing to do with what we're doing today about this stuff. Taking back our stolen identity. Trying to quote them verses. Back then, they was Shaul and Timothy and Titus was quoting them because what was going on, and we know that's for the Hebrew Israelite cats. You guys gonna have to catch up on that one. That's for that. But when you try to steal my identity, me teaching somebody else, and people ain't gonna stop teaching anyway, trying to quote these verses under Christianity won't work. It does matter. Instead of y'all like to say it just doesn't matter, it does matter. If you didn't notice, I didn't use Old Testament verses about the Israelites. Oops. Use Old New Testament. Because in the Old Testament, you're going to physically, literally, the tribes went there, they went to the land of Canaan and took into Babylon captivity, Assyrian captivity. They take spiritual beings and Babylon and Assyrian captivity. They take physical people. That's why I ain't quote Old Testament, because y'all right away, we know that's Old Testament physical. But when you get the New Testament, you get a little tricky, little gimmicks. Quote the verses, trying to make it spiritual. Through Christianity's eye lenses. Talking about we all one. so you can avoid the truth and try to and get away from it. By the way, you did notice I did use in the Old Testament about the Israelite, because you Christians, look at, I'm quoting stuff I already got right there. You Christian, you Nicoporeans only try to spiritualize it in the New Testament when it comes to us today. You Christians and Nicoporeans only try to spiritualize New Testament when it comes to us today. That's when the gimmicks and the games come out, quoting the 4 verses. Galatians 2:17-26, Galatians 6:16, Galatians 3:28, 1 Timothy 1:4, Titus 3:9. That's when you coaches try to spiritualize it under Christianity and try to avoid the truth. And then you don't never do that, put the pressure on the so-called other folks who say they're the people of the book and they live in, you don't do that. Preachers. I wonder if y'all did that today. It's Sunday. These guys deserve credit to them. I'm going to name some names, and I can't name all the people. I'm naming these people. Now, there's plenty of things I disagree with these guys with when it comes to other stuff. And mainly, without a shadow of a doubt, would be eschatology. Time of the end, not end times. So I know I don't agree with all these guys who believe probably the same thing when it comes to that. I don't know where Dr. John L. Johnson stands, but I'm pretty sure the rest of them are confusionists, aka futurists, when it comes to their eschatology. The Nicoporeans and the Christians and all of them, as well as the BHIs, all of y'all eschatology. All of y'all in the same group when it comes to that. Who you think you are? No, who y'all think y'all are? But these boys and these men need credit. I don't have to agree with everything they teach when it comes to other tenets. But when it comes to this, they are on target. They do their history. They do their study. They spend time. They break it down. They spend money. They do what they got to do to share the truth. And they're not doing it in no racism. They're not doing it in no racism. Because they speaking of what they know and learned, and they used to be Christians or whatever they are now, whatever they call themselves. I don't care what they call themselves. I don't care what they call themselves. The history, facts, the truth. And all the breakdown some of these dudes undone. And there's plenty more. These guys deserve their credit. I got so much books, Ryan. Everybody got books. But do you read them? As Zion Led asked Mr. Vocab Malone the other day about 2 books on the YouTube. Do you read them, or do you just read against the Black Hebrews, like trying to distort our history and try to take away our stuff? Do you really read them? He asked you to put up on the screen. You couldn't do it. I got a PDF. Unreal, man. These guys deserve credit to them. Ronald Dalton, Hebrews to Negroes. If y'all ain't got the book, listen, man. Educated stuff up in there on some historical facts. Now, his tenets and things about he sees everything. Just because you believe with one person that doesn't mean you got to agree with him something else. And they don't become your authority. Just like I don't become somebody's authority who watches this YouTube on other teachings and other doctrines and tenets. The same goes for me as well. Okay? And the same goes for you. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to believe with me or whatever other different things, etc., etc., etc. That's just the way it goes. We may agree on this. We may not agree on that. That's just the way it goes. Ronald Dalton, Benny Yah, Israel. Ooh, these boys do some study. They do some study. Benny Yah, Israel. Dante Faustin, who debated, I guess this man, Mr. Vocab Malone. I keep mentioning him. Nobody else know nothing about nothing. And his stuff is really weak anyway. But y'all keep taking him on like he's some kind of slayer. He ain't no doggone slayer. Dante Faustin, another one, undone his homework and studies. All right. Zion Led is a young man that I never seen before. I don't know nothing about him. I never seen him before. He debated this man, Vocab Malone, the other day. And boy, I thought that was me up there talking. Showing all that stuff. I wish I knew how to do all that digital stuff, because I would have been saying it just like him. When you ask me a question, stay on the topic. Don't try to revert. So you can't revert to something else with me. You can't revert from me calling myself a Hebrew Israelite and revert to the gospel or anything else and catch me with that. That will never work.
Now you busted. You can't go to, I know what the gospel is. I believe in Yahushua HaMashiach. You can't use that on me. You can use that on some of them, my Hebrew Israelite cats. But once with their teachings and doctrine, you cannot use that on me. For you Negro Peons and Christians. So don't go there with that. You can waste your time. Talking about when the man was baptized. This and that. Ask some questions like Christian authority gives you the right to dictate, blah, 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 taking and hijacking under Christianity. You got to put people on the spot and post them up and put them on the wall. What do you think you is? A Christian? You think you get away with that because you're a Christian? You can say something that's emphatically because I'm a Christian. It is unreal. Zion let. We woke now. So YouTube, you got to punch that up on YouTube. We woke down to know the man's name. I watched a lot of his stuff. I just learned about him recently. He's the guy who put up the stuff of it. Just doesn't matter. He's the guy who asked the questions in some of his YouTubes in the beginning about if you from here, mentioning the nation or where the country where you from. Boom, boom, boom. This is very simple, educated stuff. Now, Rudolph Windsor, scholar, wrote a book From Babylon to Timbuktu. Most people who study this stuff going to use that particular book along with other books, not just that book, other books. Dr. John L. Johnson, one of my other books I got there on the shelf, plenty of more other stuff up there. This man broke it down. I had this book before I had got all these other guys' stuff. And I believe he's an Egyptologist. I don't even believe he's a believer or a BHI. But it's historical facts. I believe he's an Egyptologist. I'm not sure. But it's historical facts. I didn't even have these other guys' stuff. And but when I first was learning, bam, Dr. Johnson L. Johnson. Many more worthy of recognition for sure about the study and facts of history, about the identity and the truth of the real. I ain't gonna say real. Oh, I left out Galatians 6:16. Ooh, look at that. I almost left that one out. Galatians 6:16. Ooh, look at that. I said Galatians 3:28. Look at that. So busy talking. That's another one where they spiritualize it and try to take away quoting Galatians 6:15 and 6. They quote 16, but they don't quote. They quote 16. Galatians 6:15 and 16. I almost left Galatians. I put Galatians 3:28, but it's also Galatians 6:16. That's a part of the spiritualizing to get it away from the truth. But those guys I named, and there's plenty more. There's other dudes that are new up here doing YouTubes and guys breaking stuff down. There's plenty of more. Anybody can go on YouTube. You can research, and once you punch on one thing, another thing gonna pop up. You're gonna see other people teaching. You're gonna see even white people and the other people, Arab people and white people breaking this stuff down. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the way it is. It's not had nothing to do with racism. It has to do with truthism. And that's what it is. So when I use the word white earlier, please don't try to relate that to racism. I ain't never been prejudiced or bigoted in my life. I can't even explain how much I could. Never was. I said it before on my other YouTubes. My parents didn't teach me that nonsense. Now, you Hebrews like cats, you can get upset all you want, calling me a Esau lover or some silly, stupid yang. That ain't. I ain't never been bigoted or prejudiced towards another nationality in my life. How am I being Mashiach and all of a sudden now I'm not liking somebody? Or all have sinned. No, only some. All have sinned. All can have prejudice or racism and bigot in their nationality and people as a people, including dark, brown, hue, black folks. Oops. Ooh, that's right. Get them in there. That's right. Oh, you're always bringing up white guys and everybody else. Why don't you talk about them? I'm talking about them now. That's right. It was racism and prejudice and bigotry right amongst each other in Africa. Racism and bigotry right amongst each other in Spain. Racism and bigotry right amongst each other in China. Racism and bigotry right amongst each other in Italy or Rome or wherever. My gosh. Galatians 6:15. For in Mashiach, that's right, spiritual. In Mashiach, neither the circumcision has any strength nor uncircumcision. Oops. But a new creation. Oops, did we see that word new creation in 2 Corinthians 5:17? Is that a spirit? Is that all of a sudden your physical new creation again? Same thing as 2 Corinthians 5:17, Galatians 6:15, new creation. Did you change your form? Did you become a new physical? You're not your identity no more? No. But the next verse, spiritual. Here we go. And as many as walk. Read the whole chapter, please. 16, only a couple of verses. As many as walk according to this rule. Not change your identity, who you are, Israelites, back then and now. Peace and mercy be upon them, upon the Israel of Elohim. This verse is used by Mr. Vocab Malone and all you Christians basically to eliminate what's going on today. It didn't even eliminate them back then because that was a spiritual concept about a new creation. It didn't say you're no more an Israelite, genealogy-wise, because we read the verses where they were from the tribe of Benjamin, the tribe of Asher, tribe of Yehuda, 12 tribes in Revelation. Then you get to Galatians 16 and try to spiritualize it to justify your Christian doctrine and tenets and think you can get away with it. Psych. Can't. This is not a Christian truth. It's a scriptural truth. So when you quote these verses under Christian, ain't thinking you on quoting it under a Christian. Sorry, wrong, sap, wrong. Always will be, never will be. Get mad, get sad, get whatever. Galatians 16, whatever my verse 4:16, 4 whatever it is. Whatever. I become your enemy because I tell you the truth. I guess so, man. That's the way it's gonna always be. Seems to be. But if you for truth and you're gonna study those chapters, Acts chapter 17, read the whole entire chapter. Galatians chapter 3 as well as chapter 6, whole entire chapter. 1 Timothy chapter 1, you can read chapter 1. Titus chapter 3, read it all. You ain't got to read the whole Revelation because they ain't doing the chapter ain't talking about. That's just Revelation 7:4. I don't want y'all to mess up the eschatology like y'all already did in the book of Hazan. Stay out of Revelations. Just read the verse 7:4. Stay out of there. You mess that up. Man, it's the first time I did an hour YouTube in all this time. My goodness. But it has to be, and I didn't even read all the chapters. See, I planned on reading because I told y'all before I started this YouTube that I had read these chapters 3 or 4 times. Told one of my friends on the phone, tired of going over it, just reading them, 4 different translations, reading it, picking up, going slow, seeing so much good stuff in those chapters. But I want y'all to do your homework. I want you to type me in the comment section, say, wow, I never noticed that, and blah, 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 blah. Read something, do something. Get off Twitter, get off X, get off Clubhouse, get off Facebook, get off, what are you doing? Taking what is this? A picture of yourself. I don't know. Do something. So you can have clarity and understanding when somebody like myself is talking, not from no Christianity, not from no Hebrews like camp or out of a camp, talking from Yahushua HaMashiach through his truths, through his truth. Somebody told me the other day, a friend of mine says, D, you think, so you got it right. I said, I told this dude, my friend, I said, I don't have nothing. It's right. The scriptures are true. The scriptures are right. And if it contradicts me or contradicts you or contradicts this one, so be it. No respect of persons Yahuwah City has. None. No respect of person. Well, he respects us more. We Christians. We from the tribe or whatever today. And we say we from this and we say we from that. We got more respect of person. But one thing I have to do say to close this out, in the spiritual part and being in Mashiach is numeral number 1. In Mashiach is spiritual, and that is numeral number 1, your allegiance and to him, not JC, to Yahushua HaMashiach. This is numeral number 1, spiritual in allegiance. It is number 1 in your identity. But if you got identity as being an Israelite and you ain't got in Mashiach, you missed it. And this is not Christendom and no vocabulary or nobody else. This is Israelites teaching it in the first century to Israelites and Gentiles. Through the Ruach HaKodesh, through the apostles, and go and make the disciples of disciples. 2 Timothy 2:2. Man, I gotta get in shape. We're doing an hour and 4 minutes to YouTube. I didn't think I was going. I knew it was going to be a little longer this time because it is what it is. But these 4 verses, I know that I used to use out in the street. Me and my friend used to use them when we would run across these guys preaching out in the street, witnessing, and we call it witnessing, and going out win the lost at all costs and all these sayings. You still should do that. But the problem is, we knew these verses as well and we used them. Christians today still use them. Negropeans, these are people who are black in hue and brown, but their mindset is European. Their mindset is even not about them. Malcolm X used to say the quote that he did back in the day, who taught you to hate yourself? Good gracious. 55, 60 years later, who taught you to hate yourself? Negropeans, who taught you? Trying to say it's only about this, it's only about that. Yeah, it is mainly about this and that. Correct, I agree. But when somebody has labeled you through some trickery and called you these bywords and blah 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 and bywords, whatever it is, and and called you this and labeled you this, and if you ain't got no pride in you, who you, something wrong here. Something wrong here. This ain't got nothing to do with no gospel. The gospel is a whole entire category different. So when y'all use that, Christians, it's played out. It's played out. You show your hand just like that. You might just show your hand in the card game saying that. It's played. It's not going to work. But you're still going to do it because your mindset is all I got to do is say that and turn around and walk west. Because you don't want to deal with it. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But you're going to deal with it. You're going to deal with it. You have to deal with it. It ain't going nowhere. And I'm talking about all nationalities are learning this stuff. That doesn't make them better than nobody else. Doesn't make them less neither. It just makes them more knowledgeable. Just makes them more understanding. That's all. It's not about better, worse, more, better, whatever. Gosh. But it is what it is. And we got to keep doing what we got to do. We got to try to educate. I got to educate my granddaughter. My son, my oldest son, about to have a child. My goodness. He going to have to get something under his belt. Because then if he doesn't, we're going to keep passing down. Gosh, going to keep passing it down. Keep passing it down. Well, that ain't got nothing to do with, please. And I heard Mr. Vocab Malone. I hate to keep calling this man out because I don't know this man personally. Just watching the YouTubes. So I don't know him personally. So Mr. Vocab Malone, you ever run across his YouTubes, this is not personal. This is business. It's like you take it on business to go into urban and talk to the Hebrew Israelites. This is not, and it ain't just Vocab Malone. I don't care who you is. I don't care if Michael Brown, Vocab Malone, Kukaba. I don't care who you is. It's not personal. It's business. Like y'all say, when y'all breaking down, telling Hebrew Israelites how wrong they are about this and how long we're wrong about that, and these folks who went through Africa, and in back in the Old Testament, there was all different types of people. Yeah, okay. Say anything to erase it out. Anything. Then use these verses. These are the main favorite ones that are quoted from the Christian. These are from preachers and teachers and pastors and evangelists. Quote these same verses. These are supposed to be the students of Scripture. These are supposed to be the students. They're quoting it from the Christian perspective, not on the studies. You can't read those chapters and come up with that. You cannot read those chapters, use those 4 verses, and come up with your conclusion. Illogical. That's the only way you could come up with this stuff. And it's going to go on for YouTube after YouTube because they're going to keep debating instead of saying, good gracious, we are busted. As I said earlier, 1724, these folks in their astrological view, whatever they was back then,
They did not believe 2024 would be here, quoting, "This is the generation we seen the signs in 1724." They didn't expect 2024 to be here. You just like y'all don't expect for such and such to be in the future in 2024. They didn't expect the 1724 to be a 2024. Just like y'all don't expect nothing to last very soon and shortly as y'all teach y'all eschatology. Both groups, same thing they used to teach back then. All right, now I don't know what's coming up next. I do got some stuff in my mind. I told my friend on the phone the other day, I don't know why I brought this Great Late Planet Earth, one of the books I didn't have. But I brought it this way, spending $10 just to read to show y'all where y'all get yourself stuff from, which I already knew, but I just want to read it off the book. Oh, man, what are you going to do? But I don't know what the next topic going to be. I don't know. My brain is always running and racing, thinking of stuff. But mine triggered me from watching it YouTube again with Zion Lett and Mr. Volkan Malone. This is what triggered me again to do this YouTube on Outside. It's not the first time because I used to use those verses, as I said, for 15 times already in this YouTube. In the streets. But it is what it is. Springtime's cold out there today, but somebody can't wait till another couple of months. They just can't wait. Motorcycle ready. All right, so there we go. Now, I'm going to say this before I close out. This is not personal. This is not prejudice. This is not bigot. This is not, and I say this, and I told somebody the other day, I don't know who I'll be talking to, no one else has apologized and says sorry when they're doing something or saying something. No Jewish person, no Christian person, no Buddhist, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, Mormon. Nobody's sitting up there talking about, well, you know. I do that because I know how sensitive times we living in and how people can get. And I understand it. I understand it because, it's just, it is what it is. And I understand it. So I'm going to speak bold. I'm going to speak my convictions, and so is y'all. But on the same token, this is about, we can't say we ain't even reasoning together. You can't even say that. Because there ain't no reason when stuff is all messed up. We can't say that because folks don't want to reason. Folks are not reasoning. Well, you don't want to reason your eschatology. Heck no. There ain't nothing to reason with y'all silly stuff. Talking about y'all stuff y'all be teaching. But it's serious. It's not. It's so sad. And then we talk about quote people like to quote Ephesians 4. Till we come into unity. What unity is y'all talking about today? What unity? What? Where? What planet? What solar system y'all talking about unity? Quote Ephesians chapter 4. What unity? Where? In the camps. Outside of Torah. Y'all can't quote Ephesians 4. We don't use that. Y'all can't quote unity neither. Outside of Torah. Y'all can't quote unity neither. The Christians know for sure. Y'all can't quote unity. Except the word Christian. My. All right. Hopefully I can tag this. Hopefully I do it right. I don't think I never did a YouTube for an hour and 13 minutes. Outside of reading stuff, just reading stuff in the past. But sometimes I don't like to do long YouTubes because you want to keep the concentration quick. Get it in there, not too long. People don't like. But I see YouTubes I be watching, son. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes, 3 hours and 10 minutes, 4 hours. I'm like, what the? Man, there must be some ex-preachers in there. They're talking for 4 hours, 3 hours. But sometimes it do take a long time to break stuff down, especially if they think a person or people don't know, which a lot of folks don't know stuff. And I don't know everything. Sure enough, don't. I'm talking about people don't know stuff. I don't know everything. So I watch and learn and listen and watch as well. I know enough, but I don't know everything. It's not about knowing, it's being in him, knowing him. This is a fact. Being in him, knowing him. Being in him, knowing him. This is what it's all about at the end of the day anyway. That's not a Christian thought right there. Again, don't try to steal that. We're talking about Yahushua HaMashiach. We're not talking about JC. Maybe I should do something on the name. Maybe I should do something on Yahuwah and Yahusha. Haven't done that. Y'all see on my YouTubes way back in the days, I used to use Yahusha. Yahshua, Yahweh. Back in the days, never used no Jehovah. Oh gosh. And as time going, you learn, you figure out, you go through stuff. You know, as a new name of person, or call it nameology. I call it nameology. They try to call it set up sacred name. Sacred namers. His name had to have been set apart. He came in his father's name, and his father's name is Kadesh, so his name had to be Kadesh. Oh boy. It's so much, folks. But anyway, all right. I usually say shalom and peace. It's still peace, still shalom. That doesn't change. But we got to keep, and I asked this the last time, can you please read those chapters that you rewind this YouTube and read those chapters? And if you come up with something that's talking about separating the nationality of the people back then, their genealogy, their new creature, they became a new form. They was different from what they came out their mother's womb. Back then, the Israelites was now all of a sudden some kind of whatever. Can you please show me that? I'm from Missouri. It's a show me state. Please show me. Don't tell me. Show me. I mean, can you please, when you quote these other verses, and that goes for any nationality that quotes these other verses, to try to get away from the hue, H-U-E, black, brown folks. That goes for any nation or any nationality, not just white folks. Well, because other people say, yeah, you get on the white folk, but you think the same way. So don't get slick. Especially if you ain't dark and brown. And even the Negro peons, hue and brown, they still do it too. They still do it too. Well, he told her it's not about that. It's about it's just going out and it's the gospel. The gospel obviously is important. But the gospel ain't got nothing to do with this subjects. All right, that's it. Shut up. That's it. You take care. I'll see you folks soon.